Hi, I'm Cindi Bigelow, and I'm here to share with you how to make the perfect cup of tea. And believe it or not, there's actually an art to making the perfect cup of tea. But I do promise you this, the tea police will not come to your house if you don't do it just right. But I do think there's some fun things that you will really enjoy learning about when you're making a cup of tea that really will make a difference to make sure you're getting all the flavor in the cup that you deserve. But first I have to start off by explaining a little bit about the differences because it's different how you make a cup of green tea versus how you make a cup of black tea. Green tea is from the same bush as black tea, Camellia sinensis. They take the top two leaves in a bud and they steam it, then they dry it and they chop it. It's a completely unfermented product. It's very fragile, very gentle, makes a completely different cup. In the case of black tea, they take the same two leaves in a bud, but they crush it, which exposes these juices in the leaves to air. They ferment it for 6 to 8 hours, then they dry it, and then they chop it. It turns a beautiful coppery black, and it makes a very different cup of tea, much more robust, and therefore you have to treat it different in the process. So that's a little bit about the background of why you make a different cup for green than you do for black. So with that, let's learn how to make the perfect cup of tea. First step, and this one is the most important, you have to start with cold aerated water. What does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means you cannot reuse the water in your tea kettle. I know you're all rolling your eyes right now, but it's very important. You have to always start with fresh, cold aerated water. And why is that? Because it's the air bubbles in the water that as they hit the tea, they unfurl the tea leaf. So you need a lot of air bubbles in your water. Very important. So now you've got your cold, fresh, aerated water into your tea kettle, and you're ready to go. Now, this is for black tea. I'm doing this in a tea kettle. I'm going to do it a little different when it gets to the green tea. But I've got my cold water in there. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to let it come to a boil. But I have to tell you, you can't just walk away from this tea kettle because when it starts, you hear the whistle. You have to get to it relatively soon because as it's doing that, it's losing its air. And remember, you don't want to lose that air, right? So don't go too far. Keep checking on that kettle. And as soon as you start to hear it come to a rolling boil and you hear that whistle, you got to come get it and you got to make that cup of tea. All right, now to make the perfect cup of black tea, I like to use Constant Comet. That's a black tea base. My grandmother created the recipe 62 years ago in her kitchen. It's very important that you protect your tea because tea is a leaf. It dries out, it picks up other flavors, it's very sensitive to moisture, it loses its flavor very quickly. That's why we put every one of our tea bags in individual overwrap, so you're getting the best cup possible. So you have to start with a good quality tea to begin with if you're going to make the perfect cup of tea. And we're ready to bring over our fresh boiling water. And again, I like to make sure I'm getting all the flavor in my cup. And that's why you see some people like to steep their tea. They like to cover it. There's actually a reason to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this. Keeps all the heat in, keeps all the flavor in, keeps all the health benefits in. How long do you steep it for? Green tea, it's about 1 to 3 minutes. In black tea, about 2 to 4 minutes. Again, it's a personal preference. I like my Constant Comet for about 3 minutes. I'm going to let it steep, and then it's going to be ready for the perfect cup of tea. Now, for green tea, a lot of people, believe it or not, use an open pot. And why would that be? Because with green tea, remember I've told you, it's a much more delicate leaf. And you do not want to put a rolling boil over the delicate leaf. It's actually too harsh for a green tea, and you want to get that delicate flavor. You don't want to burn the leaf. So a lot of people start with an open pot, and again, cold, aerated water, because you need the air bubbles. And then they fill their pot, they put it on the burner, but they have to stay close again because just as you start to see the bubbles, that's when it is ready for green tea. Now what I like to do, I like my tea bags, green tea, to steep about 2 minutes, but it really is a personal preference. Anywhere from 1 to 3 really works for green tea. So I'm going to let it sit for about 2 minutes, and I'm going to cover it. I'm going to steep it. So I'm ensuring everything is going in the cup. I'm getting all the health benefits, and I'm getting all the flavor. All right, when your cup finally reaches that perfect color, you're now ready to finish up. But there is one more rule, and that is when you're ready to take your tea bag out, okay? A lot of people really like to wring that tea bag to get every little bit out. You know what? Please don't do that. all you're putting is bitter tannins into your tea cup. It doesn't taste good. It doesn't add to the flavor. It doesn't add to the health benefits. So try to break that habit. So here we go. You can do it. You're going to take your tea bag out against the side of the glass. You can do it. Take it away without any squeezing. You're done. Now you can enjoy that perfect cup of tea. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And for fun tips like this and also some great recipes and new items and new teas, go to bigelowtea.com. Have a great day.